Yeah, we went to 11, and now we're back to the footnote at the bottom of 10.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's read the footnote in the bottom right of page 10. The background is that yesterday we mentioned, even though the Shulchan Aruch tells us that it's a halakha, a person should go get a job, and while they work for a living, they should also make time to study Torah. And they should treat their Torah study as the more important profession that they have, in their own personal profession, as secondary. But we mentioned that could be regardless of the amount of hours you put into work as opposed to Torah study, you should still give preference to your Torah study. I mean, treat it as, I'm a person who studies Torah that has to work 9 to 5 every day. And to do both. And it says Hashem will make your life successful if you're involved with both. Hashem will make your parnasah successful and your Torah study successful. And then, the author of this Halakha Bu'ah, Rabbi David Yosef, the son of Rabbi David Yosef, said, okay, even though that's true, this is only about a person who has no choice. They unfortunately have to get up and go make a living. But if there's somebody who can live a very meager financial lifestyle, and he could study Torah day and night and have other people support him, even though it's a minimal financial backing, that's the right thing to do, and it's an obligation on him to do that, and he shouldn't opt for the other life of comfort. And instead he should sit and study Torah, because that's the only way we're going to have Torah scholars, and that's the ideal way to live your life. And I mentioned to you yesterday that it doesn't say that in Shulchan Aruch. This is a personal opinion that has been written onto the page of the Shulchan Aruch. And what are his sources? Who says that what he said is correct? And my argument.
Who said the Torah is how it's supposed to be poured? They should have an elevated, just like the clothing should be clean and nice and respectful. So the one's lifestyle should also be that way. You're not just coming to a place and
This is another good. Okay, let's add a list of critiques. You're going to have a lot of them. Yesterday what I mentioned to you was, I believe his whole lumping of Torah scholars together with potential Torah scholars, I mean people who are just yeshiva students, are not yet Torah scholars, together with people who serve the community as Torah scholars versus those who just sit back and don't serve the community, they're studying for themselves. Putting all these people into the same category is a very dangerous thing. It's not the same thing. The guy who's sitting in yeshiva and still trying to figure out if he wants to be in yeshiva, if he wants to, why should the community be burdened to support such a person? If the person wants to study Torah, they know this is their life goal. Okay, they study Torah. What do they plan to give back to the community with their Torah study? Nothing. They just want to sit and study. Okay, that's not the same thing as a person who's then using this knowledge to teach a community, to lead a community, to work as in a Jewish prophet, to be a judge in a bidyan, to be a rabbi of a community, a principal of a school. There are jobs in the community. Okay, I support your education because you support us back. Fine, that works. But to lump everybody in the same category is it's oversimplifying something that's not so simple. But let's read his sources. Let's read what he wants to tell us. Okay, I disagree, but that being said, it's important to analyze where he's coming from. So the bottom right paragraph. Hine bizmanenu. You see this? After the big aleph. Hine bizmanenu. Nowadays, nitrabu b'siyata deshmaya. They're increased with Hashem's help. L'mdei Torah b'kolelim. Those who study Torah in kollel. When he says kollel, he doesn't mean what we're doing now.
Yeah.
It's a kollel, but it's not what he's referring to. He's referring to somebody who's full-time from the morning to the night studying Torah and living off of a very basic stipend. V'oskim b'Torah b'shkeda, and they involve themselves in Torah with diligence. Yomam v'layla, day and night. Is that even an accurate statement? Okay, I'll leave it for now. U'mitparnesim bedochak, and they live bedochak with extreme. They barely get by. Mimaskoret, from a salary hanesefet, which is collected. Me'achenu b'nei Israel, from our brothers, the people of Israel, nedivei am, the generous ones. Tomchei Torah, the supporters of Torah. Hanotnim elibam, who take this matter into their heart. Lefarnes u'lachzik b'dei lomdei Torah, to support those who study Torah. Ul'de'avon lev, happy birthday to the United States of America. Ul'de'avon lev, and to our great misfortune, yesh kamim alehem, there are those who stand up against them. U'medabrim bignutam, and they speak badly about them. U'ma'arim al kach medivrei harambam, and they seemingly refute this lifestyle from the words of the Rambam, who writes, and now he's quoting from the Rambam. In the 3rd chapter of the Laws of Torah Study, in the 10th halakha. So what he quoted yesterday from the Rambam, that everybody could be a Levite, that everybody could throw off of his shoulders the yoke of this world and become part of the next world, that wasn't a halakha in the laws of studying Torah. That was an end note in the laws of Shemitah and Yovel. This is actually what the Rambam says in the laws of Torah study. Shekol hamesim al libo, anybody who places this idea in his heart, sheyasok b'Torah, that he will study Torah, v'lo yaseh melacha, and he will not work, v'itparnes min tzedakah, and he'll earn his livelihood from the charity. Harei ze chilel et Hashem, he has desecrated Hashem's name. U'bazat haTorah, and he has degraded the Torah. V'chaba me'or hadat, and he has extinguished the flame of Judaism. V'garam ra'a la'atzmo, and he caused evil to himself. V'natal chayav min ha'olam haba, and he removes his portion in the world to come. Lefi she'asur lehanot b'divrei Torah ba'olam hazeh. If I remember correctly, it's midivrei Torah. That might be a misprint, if I remember the Rambam correctly. And it's forbidden to receive benefit from the words of Torah in this world. And the Rambam continues, it says, "V'chol Torah she'en ima melacha," and any Torah that does not have a profession, a livelihood with it, sofa betila, the end of it will be that it will be nullified. V'sof adam zen, what's going to be with this person who learns Torah and lives off of charity? She'eh melastem et haberiot, he's going to steal money from human beings. He'll become a thief. Some of you are used to certain kinds of stealing. Yeah, there's sometimes I don't know how to call it rabbis, because that word can include a variety of people who they make a living off of. There's a Yiddish word again called schnorring. You know the schnorring?
Snore, no.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Rabbi David Yosef is going to try right now to take this Rambam and turn it against what the Rambam says. And I'll tell you, he is not condoning the things we spoke off of camera about. But this is the dangerous first step. This is the step of saying, I agree that young Jewish families should live a life of poverty, and I expect that there should be no ramifications to this. This is not enabling, it's causing a lifestyle that doesn't need to happen. But I'll read to you what he says. There's these evil people that use this Rambam against the current Kollel students. V'ayen od, and we're in the third of the wide lines in the bottom right paragraph. Od, you see where it says od? Beperush HaMishnayot LaRambam. And look, he writes more in the Rambam's commentary on the Mishnah. Don't have the Rambam's commentary on the Mishnah here. I have it at home. Okay, he writes, meaning he says the same thing over there. Ulam, but. I'll tell you what we do. We're always hitting the Ashkenazim on the head. Oh, we follow the Rambam on this, the Rambam on that. How could you disagree with the Rambam? All of a sudden, when it's convenient for us to disagree with the Rambam, we come up, but. The Rambam said, but. It's not fair. Ulam, but, kama tshuvot bidvar zeh. There are a few answers to this question. Ukvar katav Maran HaKesef Mishneh. Maran. Who's Maran? No, very good. He normally calls Father Maran, but Rabbi Yosef Karo, here is talking about in his book, the Kesef Mishneh. The Kesef Mishneh, Maran wrote the Bet Yosef. He wrote the Shulchan Aruch. He also wrote the Kesef Mishneh. The Kesef Mishneh is a commentary on the Rambam's Mishneh Torah. Basically, the big critique against the Rambam was that he didn't give any sources for what he said. So what Maran did was he spent much of his life giving sources for everything the Rambam said. Isn't that brilliant you have to be to go through someone else's book and give sources for everything they said? So Maran writes on this piece of Rambam, in his Kesef Mishneh, Lochiach, to prove Mashas from the Talmud, Shachachamim, that the scholars with Talmidehem and their students, Hayu mitparnesim mitrumot hatzibur, they lived off of donations from the community. V'sheken ra'inu, and we saw Shekol Chachamei Yisrael, that all of the sages of Israel, Kodem Zman HaRambam, before the times of the Rambam, V'acharav, and even after the Rambam, Hayu nohagim litol schara min hatzibur, they were accustomed to taking their salary from the community. Ve'od, and furthermore, Shafilu im nodeh, even if we would admit, shemikar adin, that the main halacha is halacha k'divrei Rambam. The Rambam is right. According to halacha, Torah scholars should not be living off of charity. Kvar hiskimu kol gdolei hadorot. All of the sages of the generation have already agreed lehatir, to permit this practice. Mishum et lasot Hashem heferu toratecha, because now is a time for Hashem. That sometimes when it's a time for Hashem, you have to uproot the Torah and do something against the Torah.
What?
That's a famous teaching. Why do we write down the oral Torah even though we're not allowed to write the oral Torah? The rabbi said, Et lasot Hashem, we have to do it for Hashem so the Torah will not be forgotten.
But that's to be abused if you have
So
a
he's
situation.
very good. So he's saying here, listen, Torah scholars are in low supply, real Torah scholars. We need to make sure we get as many Torah scholars as we can, and therefore, if we didn't support Torah scholars to study Torah, then the Torah would have been forgotten from the Jewish people.
But the thing is, authentic Torah scholars in a system.
Are there like little termites going around this room? Because I have some over
Are
here.
these termites?
Or they're like flying ants of some sort.
They
they're
are.
termites.
These are?
It's got them in the building. That's all.
Oh.
They're
Summertime
swarming.
around.
There's a swarm.
Why don't we
I
get
have to tell
rid
the
of them?
landlord.
There's a lot.
Okay.
Yes.
So back to the halakha.
But
That's
that's authentic Torah scholars also. I mean, if you have a lot of people running through the system, what percentage are actually going to come out being scholars?
They don't like hardware, they
Very
like
good.
software.
We
And
do?
this
Is it true?
this entire statement here, Maran is saying a few things. One is Maran is saying that we find precedents for rabbis living off of communal funds. We also find that before the Rambam and after the Rambam, there were rabbis who did it, not just Talmudic rabbis. And we also find that even if the Rambam is right, the community has already agreed, the rabbis have already agreed that this is not the halakha that is being followed today. Okay, a few things here. I'm not yet done with reading this paragraph. But what the differentiation I made earlier stands true. The Torah scholars who are leading these communities and therefore living off of their communities are doing a job. They're not sitting and studying Torah. They're the Torah scholars and their students. By definition, they have students already, in which case they're educating the community's children or their young adults in the study of Torah. They're clearly being supported by a community, in which case they must have batei din or synagogues in which they're serving. I don't think anybody would make an argument that if there was a rabbi who's serving a community, or a judge who's sitting on a beit din, or a principal of a Jewish school, that he wouldn't be able to be compensated for his time. To use this as an argument that every religious boy in the world should be able to sit down for as many years as he'd like and study Torah without getting a job, it's not the same argument that's happening here in the Kesef Mishnah. But he's using Maran now, meaning the yeshiva students in yeshiva, they're the same exact thing as the rabbis who are teaching in the yeshiva. There's no difference in their job description.
So are there regulations about a kollel? Is there a concept in halacha?
We don't have a precedence for a kollel. In fact, the only precedence we have for rabbis taking funds from the community are rabbis of communities or rabbis who are working in the rabbinic field. That's the only precedence we have. We don't have, before this last generation, anybody who sat and studied and was paid for it. That's foreign.
Was that
Jewish.
Ben Gurion who started?
No, the Chazon Ish was really the one who pushed this very strong.
This
He
was
felt,
in Europe.
and Israel already. He came to Israel in the 50s, and he felt that the Holocaust had wiped out all of the Torah scholars in Europe, and there was no time to think. Rather, everybody had to commit themselves to being a Torah scholar, so we could replenish the supply of Torah scholars. Now, even if that was true, and even if he felt that way, it's an innovation. It's not the way things were always done. That's an innovation. And you could say that works as long as the people who are supporting you are happy to support you. But clearly there's a fight in Israel about people not wanting to support this lifestyle. So you're forcing people to pay for something is called stealing. That's the definition of forcing people to steal. There was a Rosh Yeshiva 2 years ago, a Lithuanian Rosh Yeshiva who stood up, a big name in Bnei Brak. And he said, the Chazon Ish's generation is over. We have, thank God, plenty of Torah scholars. We need to go back to normal mode. Not everybody needs to be a Torah scholar. People have to work and have jobs and have families, and those who are cut out for being Torah scholars, the communities are taking care of them anyways.
Oh, big rabbi to that?
Yeah, big rabbi.
How was it?
Tarred and feathered?
How was how was it
Within
taken?
6 hours,
Yeah.
he issued a public apology for what he said.
Right.
The pressure that came down on him. He's not like a young guy who said it. A very famous Lithuanian Rosh Yeshiva. In 6 hours, he was summoned to the rabbi. He issued a public apology. I didn't mean what I said. I didn't mean what I said. He said it clearly. You know when people issue statements, they say a racial slur and they say,
Yeah.
I'm not a racist, it came out of my mouth the wrong way.
Yeah.
You just, nobody in the world except for the KKK says that. Yeah, but how do you apologize?
And Mel Gibson.
Somehow we do those kind of things. People issue public apologies for things that they did. It's not an apology. It's a real. So he had to do the same thing. It sounded like he was forced.
Well, when did the Israelis,
Phone rang out
Israeli
the wall.
supporters view because they've been so resentful about this?
Doesn't help, you know. You would think. I have a friend who's a Knesset member, was a Knesset member. Rabbi Chaim himself for years been trying to push this agenda. You would think that the secular Israelis would come and rally up behind him, and then he'd be successful. The religious are afraid to support you because you're going against the establishment, and the seculars don't trust you because you're going against the establishment. So you must not be authentic. I mean, they almost need the rabbi to be a fanatic in order for them to consider him a rabbi. The fact that he's moderate, something's fishy about this. What's he really trying to accomplish? And it's very sad. He lost out on both ends for being moderate. Extremism pays off, at least in the short run, not in the long run. It pays because you, even the people who hate you and the people who love you, but you're not stuck in this no man's land. When you try to be good, sometimes you just are good alone. And it's the way that people are. You ever like sweep up the floor, and you see like you sweep the dust, and there's some that go this way, some that go that way. That's how people are. People, they'll tell you one thing today, and then tomorrow they hear. There's a famous ultra-Orthodox political campaign that was running in Israel. And how did they get people to vote for them? They got a Kabbalist on TV to bless all the people who voted for this political party, and to curse anybody who doesn't vote for the political party. Now, they took them to court. They took them to Supreme Court, because that could be considered like forcing a person to do something against their will. But they argued a curse is not something you could prosecute in a court. A curse is not according to Israeli law, a curse is not a real thing. And it's not tangible. And you should know how many thousands of people, obviously very simple people, but the great Baba so-and-so, the great Tzaddik so-and-so, he cursed us if we don't vote for this political party. Of course you have to vote for it. This has happened all the time. And over here, where you're saying it's a manipulation of a concept of Torah scholars who serve the community being compensated by the community. It seems the Rambam might have even struggled with that. But at the very least, that is understandable to a logical mind. This might make sense. But just everybody who wants to decide to sit down, imagine if you had this. You turn 18, someone says, "Listen, you need to go to college and get hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans, and then go work and try to pay them back every month and get bills and find a job that you're gonna have the right hours and have a family and children and pay Jewish school tuition, or you can just stay in high school and we'll pay your bills and you'll be very poor, but you'll never have to do anything in your life. You just sit here and we'll try to figure out the rest for you." You know what that does to a whole generation of people? It
Makes them lazy.
Yeah, man, it's a very lazy generation of people. And I'll tell you, you don't get Torah scholars out of it either. Because not the people who they're working hard for what they need to be and what they want. You lose out on both ends. Like,
System.
But this is what the system wants. What he's saying is mainstream system. If you take this piece right here to any, now I'm saying to any rabbi in San Diego of the Orthodox genre, they would agree with him.
You were
This is-
agreeing with Ovadia.
With what's being taught here. I don't know what rabbis have said. That's already up to, this is his son's. This is mainstream Orthodoxy, not ultra-Orthodoxy, not Hasidic Orthodoxy. This is mainstream.
What's mainstream? That rabbis should be paid.
Not rabbis. There should be
Torah
a world
scholars.
of Torah scholars who just sit and study and are supported by the community. It's better that than to go and get a job and support yourself.
I don't know where those rabbis are. I mean, they're afraid to say that, or
Why, look at their children. Why do you have to go so far? Look at their children.
look at what?
Their children and what they do.
What do you mean?
Look how many of them said. When I decided to be a rabbi, my parents, they lost everything over the course of life. I was going to be a lawyer. I was going to go study in Baltimore. I was going to stay in
Right.
yeshiva. The whole thing planned out. I went to Israel. Sorry, I want to be a rabbi. I always knew I wanted to be a rabbi. My parents always said, you could be a rabbi, but first do something real with your life. And then I had to come home and tell them that I want. And my parents are very supportive. You know my parents. They're very supportive of what I do, but it's not easy for a parent to see their child choose a lifestyle in which I can't always pay my bills. I sometimes go to my parents and ask, I'm embarrassed to tell you that, but it doesn't always work out the way you'd want it to work out. And I believe it's temporary. Baruch Hashem, we're only 2 years old, so it's not a lifestyle. If I thought it was going to be like this forever, it would be irresponsible of me to do that. But I believe that we're growing, and it's an investment of my time and my energy and my family's comfort, but we believe that it's going to work out. So that's why we do what we do.
It's a start.
But yeah, like anything else. But here's the but. When I told my parents I wanted to go full time, be a rabbi, I spoke to them, and I agreed on one thing: I would get my smicha before I got married. In the yeshiva world, it's a radical thing. In Chabad, they do that. Everyone gets smicha when they get married, but that's because of something else. The Lubavitch Rebbe didn't let people get married unless they had smicha. So in Chabad, it's very easy to get your smicha because the whole purpose of it is just to get you married, not in order to be a rabbi. It's almost like backwards.
Backwards.
But in the world that I come from, it's a serious commitment of years. It's years of your time. And so I studied and I got my smicha, and the whole purpose was I wanted to be able to get married and have a job as a rabbi.
Yeah.
Not have to tell my wife, I need 5 more years to sit and study and eat tuna fish out of a can. That's the only food we're going to be able to afford. And you should just, I don't know, tailor out of your house or something. But I had to have a plan. And Baruch Hashem,
Four scored 4 kids later.
yeah, and that's what I did. But not everyone does that. And then they're stuck. And even if they wanted to be a rabbi, it's years of studying that you can't always accomplish in a short amount of time. And they're stuck in a real bind of poverty for the time that takes. And so I'm lucky because I made a decision not to go down that road. So rabbis who serve their communities, I understand, but stam to sit in yeshiva, not even to become a rabbi. I had a guy now who was at my house. He has 3 kids. He's been in yeshiva he's older than me. Been in yeshiva for 20 years, 15 years, however long. So do you have smicha? No. Do you plan to be a rabbi? No. What do you do in Kollel? I learn Torah. Are you going to teach at a school? No.
Yeah. Right.
No. And who? Is there a whole group of people like that? In fact, this Kollel...
Would they give them like a stipend?
I give them a stipend. In fact, this Kollel is so well paying, I don't want to tell you who supports it, because you might know them. They pay their rent, they pay their car. It's not a poor Kollel like in Jerusalem. They brought 10 select individuals to sit and literally do nothing. I know one day someone's going to find this recording and say, Yonatan Halevy said that learning Torah is doing nothing. It's not the truth. Anyone who knows me knows that. But learning Torah to what end?
Wait, so these guys will do this the rest of their life?
Yeah.
Until they're old.
Do you remember when we had a Kollel here in San Diego when I
Yeah,
first
we
moved
had
here?
twice.
There was one
You
here.
heard about it in the
Jacob,
college
yeah.
area.
Right, but I believe those kollels operated in a slightly different model. Those people were rabbis, if I recall correctly.
Teaching at the small.
Right, they were teaching, they were involved in the community, and someone argued that kind of kollel, okay, if you're going to have a kollel, it should look like that. I'm talking about a kollel where you'll go into the room. If you're a Jew who has a philosophical question about Judaism, and you'll walk in a room of 1,000 kollel guys and ask them a philosophical question, they wouldn't even be able to answer you. I'm going to continue this footnote next week, because it's important to think about this. Whether or not we agree with it, and you could have all the sources in the world, the mainstream, this is their philosophy. And the question, how do you make change? And I'll tell you that when I read this, the change is not going to come from up on top. It's not. By the way, it's a lot easier to control a whole group of people when they're dependent on you, and they're not educated enough to be independent from you. But from the bottom, I'll tell you, as a guy who sat in yeshiva and Kollel, there are people who are dying to get out of that system. If only they could, they would, but they can't.
Yeah, but it's the same comparison that you made to welfare.
Yeah.
It's the same exact comparison.
Very good. So the only way to solve this problem would be to help them get out. But there are organizations that push for helping these people get a
My
secular
nephew's doing
education.
one now.
Imagine that you're 30, you're 30, you have
Mainstream.
7 kids, you have bills, you have a wife, you have a family, and you haven't even taken any high school courses. You don't have an education past the 6th grade.
Secondly,
Yeah, so where do you start?
They're stuck.
Where do you start? You start your high school GED? You don't even remember the first 6 years of it. I mean, it's not even... Who helps you get... And when do you have the time to sit down and study spelling and writing and reading and simple math?
My nephew, he's recruiting people to learn Cisco and learn programming and IT and so forth, and to provide jobs for that community. He's trying to build it all over the country, but he started in Toronto, he went to one place. There were 19 people, only one showed interest in doing it. The other 18 wanted to keep doing it.
There's nobody who wants to be poor. If they are, then it's a problem. It's not a normal lifestyle. There are organizations today that try, and they'll help a person, like you said, they'll teach them a simple vocation or a trade. I have an uncle who started in the Israeli Navy, a task force. It's a group of people. They recruit ultra-Orthodox guys who are married with children, who want to get out of... They want to be religious. They're not trying to become not religious. They just want a trade. And they'll train them how to be engineers on aircraft carriers, on airplanes, on army jeeps, and whatever. They teach them a trade. They have to enlist for 5 years or 7 years, whatever it is. But they come out either a licensed mechanic or an engineer or an electrician. They can stay working in the military their whole life. If they want to stay there, it's a job for life. And if they want to get out and work in the private sector, they can do that. The Israeli army is funding such a program. My uncle had soldiers that they had to lie to their families that they were going to yeshiva. They put on a hat and a jacket. They would take the bus out of the neighborhood, switch into their army uniform, go onto the base, come back, stop at a gas station, switch into their suit and hat, and come back into the neighborhood.
Yeah.
My friend who was here in
But
the
they're trying to be
hospital,
productive.
they're trying. They are. So it's not that people don't want to get out. These are not people who are stuck here. The welfare situation is not working for them. They want to get out.